Hey, what's going on? Welcome to Built for the Stage podcast. This is Joe Roscoe, founder and host of Built for the Stage, Broadway's #1 fitness platform. With clients in over 20 Broadway shows, the West End, collegiate theaters across the country, and really theaters across the globe like Australia, Germany, Tokyo Disney. We are your one-stop shop for all things fitness. Go to builtforthestage.com. Check us out for a 2-week free trial where you will work one-on-one with me on an interactive fitness app. All right, let's get on with it. Special guest as always. Super excited about our guest. Going to see the show being The Outsiders, October the 6th, I think, which is a Sunday. So if anyone wants to come say hi, I'll be there at the show with bells on. Our guest, first off, is Brent Comer. I'll bring him on in just a second, but Brent plays Darrel in The Outsiders, like I mentioned. He made his Broadway debut in the show, also was with it in La Jolla, was touring with Les Mis. And yeah, I think he's a Baltimore native, maybe, or close thereof. I'm gonna ask Brent about that in just a second. So without further ado, please welcome to the podcast, Brent Comer.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Yeah, location change and everything.
Location. I want a little more sunlight.
I'm telling you. Where are you calling in from today, Brent?
I'm calling in from Queens today, baby. Astoria.
Yeah.
Astoria.
Okay.
It's my favorite place in the city, bro.
Yeah, I lived in Astoria for 6 or 7 years.
Really? And you left?
I did. I left for a bit. I went to Long Island City, just a couple of skips
Yeah.
and a hop away.
Okay, yeah. Not that far.
Yeah, but I'm in London at the moment. So
You're
everyone
in
that's
London.
I'm in London. So everyone listening right now, first off, thank you. With Brent being in Queens and I'm in London with like construction going on next door. If you hear any noise, just pretend like you're, I don't know, just eavesdropping in on Brent and I's like phone call or something. So
Yeah,
apologize
exactly.
about the noise ahead of time. But anyways, welcome. Are you from Baltimore? Was I right?
So I'm about like an hour outside Baltimore. I'm from Frederick,
Okay.
which it's weird. Like Maryland's a small state. You wouldn't think that there's like an hour outside of anywhere.
Yeah.
In Maryland. But yeah, I'm just about an hour west of Baltimore. I'm a huge Baltimore Ravens fan. They just suffered a catastrophic loss yesterday.
You ruined my joke. I had this all planned out where I was going to be like, "Are you okay today?" And
Oh,
then
dude. Well, the thing is, the joke.
I was gonna hope for some strange reply like, "Yeah, Is there any reason I shouldn't be okay?" And then I was gonna bring up the loss yesterday, but you beat me to it. So
I'm very conscious of the loss. It's very much on the forefront of my mind.
Yes. All you theater fans out there, please don't stop the podcast. I promise you, we're not going to talk about football this entire time. Just
the whole time.
Just hang in there. Hang in there. It's going to be okay. Just hang in there.
Know that the pain is festering underneath the surface.
Yes. All right. Well, last thing I'll say about that is being a Youngstown, Ohio native, which is an hour from Cleveland. Don't ever forget that the Baltimore Ravens are actually the original Cleveland Browns. Don't ever forget it.
Yes. Every Super Bowl, you guys are owed like a commission for.
Right. Exactly. All right. Well, okay, everyone listening, we're hopping off the football train as promised. So relax. We're here to talk about all things theater and Brent Comer. So before we jump into The Outsiders, what was growing up in Maryland like as far as performing? Was that always your thing, or how did that come about in your life?
I actually, so I didn't get into theater. I actually got into theater by accident. It's actually, it's actually a kind of a funny story. I always tell the story. So in high school, I was playing sports. I was playing football and I was running track. And we had like this, at the end of the semester, we had to pick our classes for the next semester, for the following fall after summer. And I remember sitting there and I wanted to pick like a newscasting class because I knew that I would have football practice after school. So I was like, I would love to spend the first half of my day doing newscasting or like something that would be easy, not very like academically ambitious of me,
Not
but
advanced calculus or chemistry
yeah,
or something like that?
no, was not into that. But so I attempted to select a newscasting class, and I accidentally selected a musical theater class, which I was surprised was even offered at my high school. Um, but I did it. It was like an advanced musical theater class. It was like theater advanced musical theater. And I remember I went in the first day and we had to audition for the fall musical, which was Zombie Prom, which was
Yeah.
an amazing experience, to be clear.
Uh-huh,
Um,
uh-huh.
and I went in and I sang La Vie Boheme from Rent.
Of course
Um,
you did.
I didn't
What
know
other
that. I walked in and everyone just started singing, and I was just like, "Oh, I guess I didn't get the memo." So I went up
Right,
and
right,
stood
right.
up and sang La Vie Boheme, and they're like, "Congrats, kid, you're in the fall musical."
Uh, uh-huh.
And from
Amazing.
there, I just kept doing it.
Wait, so I have a question. So you signed up on accident for it. Once you found out you enrolled into musical theater instead of the newscasting, what made you like not, I don't know, contact someone at the school and be like, "Wait a second, I
Well,
made a an error."
I didn't know until I was there in the room. Um,
Oh, okay.
no, like the thing is, I remember it being like it was confusing because it just said theater, and then it had like a numeric denotation to it. Like it was like theater 253 or theater 304 or something like that. And I thought
Yeah,
theater, like the newscasting class, was a theater thing. So it's
yeah.
like newscasting was theater 30 whatever the hell it was, and then I go in and theater, that one was the musical theater class and not newscasting.
Got
And
it.
so I
Understood.
and we met in the auditorium, and I was like, fair, it makes sense that we would meet there on syllabus day.
Yeah.
And then we go in, and then like I slowly start to realize, oh, this is a big class uh for a newscasting crew. I thought it was gonna be 4 people. And then
Yeah.
I think I remember it was like, okay, no, there's like 15 people here. I started to realize something was wrong. And then as I sat down, I was like, um, so this is a newscasting. I asked my friend, they were like, no, it's musical theater. I'm like, oh. And then I checked with the teacher. I remember him being like, am I in this? And they were like, yeah, no, you're signed up for this. And I was like, oh, I signed up for the wrong
Mhm.
class. So I attempted to leave, but the friend with I sat next to, her name was Rachel. She was like, no, you're not leaving. You're staying here and you're singing. And I sort of did it as a joke. I was like, okay, well, I fucked up. Sorry for swearing.
No, you're okay. Yeah.
I messed up, so I'm going to stay here and I'm going to sing. And it started off just sort of as a joke, and then I went up there and I sang, and I was like, oh, that's actually not too shitty.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and I just
Okay, sweet.
yeah, so it was just sort of like this procedural error that I just kept rolling with and kept
Yeah.
saying yes to. Um, and in a matter of a couple of hours, I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm doing the musical.
Okay, so you go through the class, you do the musical, and then it's just like smooth sailing of like, wow, I actually like this. I'm going to keep doing it. Or what was the
Well, yeah, because
trajectory after that class and musical?
yeah, so I remember I kept doing it, and I remember just like liking it a lot more than sports, because it's sport when I was playing sports, I just kept getting yelled at, and like people just kept like being like, it was so confrontational and stressful, and like, and one thing
Comer, get off your ass.
I
Get
literally
move.
I was
You're the
like,
softest, worthless piece of nothing I've ever
yeah,
seen in my life.
and then in
You go ahead.
And then in theater, it's like, wow, that was really fun. It was really great. Oh my God, it happened exactly the way that we planned it would happen. And and like I was like, this is so much better. Everyone's nicer. Things happen the way they're supposed to happen. And like, yeah, I don't know. I just definitely enjoy. I also just I was always into storytelling growing up. I was always like I always wanted to play video games and watch movies, and I didn't really
Yeah.
I mean, I love sports. I just didn't really like taking part of it. I just didn't really understand the mentality of it, to be
Hmm.
100% honest. I guess I just didn't have I was good at sports. I understood how to do it. I just the mentality of it. I guess I just didn't have a dog in me the way that a lot of the way that a lot of sports people. I just wanted to dance, dad.
Yeah, yeah, I get it.
And
Okay, so speaking of, wait, let me interrupt you. Sorry. So dad or anyone else in the family, what happens when Brent, the football player and athlete, is like, "Hey, family, surprise! I'm doing this thing called musical theater."
Well, my parents thought it was kind of fun at first. They were like, "Oh, it's okay. So you're just doing that in your spare time." And they
Yeah.
didn't really, because my brother did the theater as well, and I was like, "I'll do it too."
Oh, okay, okay.
And but I remember very distinctly the moment when I said I didn't want to play sports and I wanted to do theater. And
Mhm.
it was me. And my dad was always up really, nowadays kids get up and they go to school. They have to get up at like 6 in the morning or something ridiculous. And I remember just being up before the sun was up, and me and my dad were just sitting, and I like told him, I was like, "Yeah, look, man, I don't really want to do this anymore."
Mm.
And he wasn't upset or like mad. He just sort of, his eyebrows raised, and he was like, I was like, I think I kind of want to just keep doing like the theater thing. And I remember he wasn't upset or mad. I think he was annoyed because he could see I was pulling away from it and I wasn't naming it, or I wasn't saying it. Like, I
Mm.
think once I told him I didn't want to do it anymore and I wanted to do this, he was surprised, but he wasn't angry. He was
Yeah.
like, he was like, okay, great. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm glad that you were not upset with me.
Yeah, yeah.
And the thing about my dad that I love, is as long as you were doing something that, like, it wasn't bad, like you weren't getting into trouble and you found something that you were interested in, and, and you wanted to be the best, or you were strive to be the best version of whatever that was you could be, then, that's one thing I really admired about the way that they raised me. They were like, and one thing I really appreciate about the way that they raised me, he didn't care what I did as long as um, he still, he doesn't care what I do as long as I'm, pushing myself to be the best version of whatever that is.
Yeah. Okay,
Like,
awesome. All right, so you tell your dad you're on this journey, not necessarily thinking to yourself, "Oh, I'm gonna do this professionally one day." When does that moment happen where, I don't know, do you go to school? Do you go to, yeah, tell me when that happens.
so I took a gap year after high school because I didn't really know what I wanted to do.
I love
Um,
that you did that, first off. Anyone that maybe is in high school and listening,
yeah,
do
dude.
not buy into, like, getting into however much money in debt for a major that you have no idea if you even wanna do it or not. Like,
No,
relax. Like, you have your whole life. Just if you wanna go to school, yeah, go, but if you need the year to, sorry, I had to just get on
no, you're
that
100%
jukebox
right.
real quick.
No, you're 100% right. It is, the thing is, it's so strange for kids, like, I think, a lot of businesses are based on pressuring kids to make really big decisions. And
Yeah,
and I think that as a kid, we expect more and more from kids. Even in Broadway, they just keep hiring like younger kids, and and it puts pressure on other kids to feel like they need to know what they want and be set. I'm like, how, when you're 18 years old, how do you decide what you want to do for the rest of your life? You know what I mean? Like, that's,
yeah,
I'm, 20 years old, and like I still am deciding what exactly I want to do.
yeah.
How the hell are you supposed to figure that out when you're 18? And when you're 18, and you know, I wasn't ready to go to college. I took a gap year, and it was probably one of the top 5 best decisions I've ever made. In retrospect, I hated doing it in the moment because everyone else was going off to college, and I worked at a restaurant for a year, um, which started my very long restaurant career, um, my very long side gig career.
Right.
Um, but
I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with that.
Oh yeah, baby. Get on the toast machine and figure out how that thing. I love going to restaurants and they hand me a toast machine and I'm just like, I got it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
um, but anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, no, I took a gap year because I didn't quite know what I wanted to do. I worked at a restaurant for a year, and I sort of decided in that year, I was like, I'm going to audition at some places and see if I can get in to a few musical theater programs. And I was very unorganized. I only auditioned at 3. I got into 2 of the 3, and what did I sing for it? Oh no, I sang "I'm Alive."
I'm alive. There you go.
which is I shouldn't have been singing that. And I sang,
No,
"What is
why
it?"
not?
It's out of my range, especially as a
This
kid.
is the crazy high tenor song from Next to Normal, right?
Yes, yes, it is that. And then I
Yeah,
sang,
yeah,
"What is
yeah.
it?" And then I sang, "What is it about her?" which was my saving grace.
There
Uh,
we go.
dude, I love little Brian Darcy. Anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I took a gap year, which was one of the best decisions because I took that time to really figure out what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And really, I sort of spent that time figuring out what I didn't want to do, which I didn't want to go to school and be an athlete. I didn't want to. Um, I didn't want to sort of resign myself to a sort of a career path that I felt sort of apprehensive about, and when I was so
Mm,
sure about something that I did love and I did want to pour my energy into. So really, a lot of that year was just sort of coming to peace with that. And after I shot in that direction, I went to JMU. It
Go
was
Dukes.
go Dukes, baby, go Dukes. They're everywhere. Keep your eyes peeled.
I
Um,
know it. Yeah, I've worked with plenty and directed some of the kids that went there. Go
dude,
Dukes.
they're everywhere. It's a beautiful campus too. Great program.
Yeah.
And yeah, and from there, I just sort of really dug in and just navigated my way from a student in Virginia to being a professional uh, in the city, which is a whole story in itself. It's 4 years of getting in practice rooms and just like driving yourself crazy and falling on your face 100 times and still falling on your face as a as a performer in the city sometimes, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so let's dive in there. So before when you move to the city, they don't just roll out the red carpet and give you your Broadway debut. You had some
Sure.
ups and downs or maybe more downs than ups. What was that journey like? Did you ever consider, is this for me? Do I want to do this? Or yeah. I know
All
eventually you booked that tour. So yeah, give us a little like timeline and just like the journey to your Broadway debut, I guess, once you moved to the city.
Yeah, you know what was funny was when I first moved to the city, I had first contacted you and we made a little workout plan. We you made me a workout plan, and I remember being subscribed for the for like my first few months in the
Yeah.
city, which was actually an amazing start to my fitness journey.
Yeah.
Uh, um, I really, to be 100% honest, I wasn't quite ready for it at the time, but it was definitely like it sort of like set the parameters of like, okay, no, so I need to focus on these things. Um, which like I had just moved to the city, and I like was working as a host somewhere. I like had some money saved up, but
Yeah.
I didn't. I wasn't. I was very much in the red every week because I wasn't making enough money to live there. But I remember being like, okay, I'm gonna do the Built for the Stage workout. I'm gonna go to work, and I'm gonna go to the auditions and I was pounding the pavement. It was the first thing. Like I moved to the city like 2 weeks after I had graduated college, and it was dude. It was so. I remember it's so hot. It was. I remember being
Yeah.
like, God, what a nasty place. And I was like working. I was working at Maison Pickle, and I was working there for 3 months in a completely unstable situation or unsustainable situation of where I just wasn't making enough money, and I was gonna have to find another side job or quit this one and get another one that paid more. And out of the blue, I was very very lucky. I auditioned for Les Mis, and I got that one.
Of course you did. I mean, come on. Easy casting right there when you walk in. You're
Yeah,
like,
look at the
"Oh."
yeah, I was on the barricade.
Not being facetious at all. Like,
I know,
yeah.
yeah, I know. It
Of
was
course of course that's one of your shows.
dude, and the thing was, I love that show. It's been one of my
Yeah.
favorite musicals of all
Yeah.
time. And so I went out and I did that one for about 9 months, and then COVID happened. Um, and you know, industry was wiped out. Everything was like everyone was let go, or you know, tours and jobs were postponed, and it just swiped the carpet under the theater industry. which sucked because I really thought that I was getting like more confident and more footing as a performer, and I was understanding how things worked, and then like rug right out from under me, gone. And you know, and then everybody went into COVID and everybody started doing Zoom musicals, which I thought was going to be the future of musicals. So I'm like, what the hell have we done? We've created a Frankenstein monster of the theater industry by doing Zoom musicals. And uh like, not, I mean, I thought Zoom musicals were cool, but I hoped that that wasn't the future of musical theater, not being with people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because I think that's the magic of it. I think that's what makes it special. And I coming back from COVID, I had moved to Astoria, at a place that's actually right down the street from here. Um, and I had just been auditioning my ass off, man, making to a lot of callbacks and going through a lot of no's, throwing a lot of self tapes against the wall and seeing what stuck, as all actors do. And you send, your tapes into the void, and most of them you don't hear anything back from.
Yeah.
And I remember I had actually stopped. I was like, I don't really want to do this anymore. I think this post-COVID musical theater industry isn't really something that I want or that wants me. And I was sort of coming to peace with that. I started working in the alcohol industry, working in sales, and
Okay.
I was having a great time, and I really enjoyed it. I was pretty good at it. And then my last audition before I was like, all right, I'm done, was The Outsiders. It was actually the last one that I was going to do. And it was an audition process that was very long, but it kept going.
Mm.
And I remember I had gone in like 4 or 5 times, and this was just for the out of town. And I auditioned, and I got the out of town as a different part than what I'm playing now. Um, and yeah, the Outsiders was just sort of like a ball that kept on rolling. Uh, and it's sort of like the more I kept auditioning and stuck with it, the more came out of it. Luckily for me, um, and I did the out of town. It was a great time. I understudied the part that I am now, Ryan Vasquez, and he was in a unprecedented situation in my experience. He was between 3 Broadway shows, and he ended up going with another one. So they considered me for the actual role, and you know, after a few rounds of being at bat for it, they decided to give me the job, which also
Yeah.
very fortunate there as well. But
Yeah.
the outside was just something I sort of stuck with. It was, like I said, it's a ball that kept on rolling, and
Mhm.
yeah, I'm very, very fortunate to be where I am, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Congrats. That got us to your Broadway debut here.
Yeah,
We
sorry,
got
I ranted for quite a long time.
no. I'm just recapping of like, all right, we started at the beginning. Kid from Maryland accidentally signs up for a theater class, goes to JMU, moves to New York, books a tour, then COVID ruins everyone's life. Then we do alcohol sales, and we're about to go crush it on commissions right before
Yeah,
booking your last audition of The Outsiders. So, okay, amazing. All right, so we're at The Outsiders,
the slow
and
COVID recovery for
yeah,
everybody.
right, exactly. So you're with this cast, you make your debut, and magically you are part of a Tony Award winning cast. Are there any OGs in your cast that went around saying like to maybe newcomers like, "Hey, this is not normal. This is not normal right now."
You know, it's hard. Yes, like the thing about our cast is everyone is so like this is a lot of people's first rodeos, and
Mm,
I think that's part of like we have a few people who have been in a few Broadway shows, but there's not many of them. There's a few people who can speak to that sort of experience, but I think really the what makes the show really special is the sincerity and the love for it, because it is a
mm.
lot of people's baby. um
Yeah.
it's a lot of people's first special experience, and I think that that's part of what makes it, for everyone else, this isn't just another job. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
Like for everyone in the show, this is like, no, this is their first go around, and everyone really gave everything that they had for it. And
Yeah.
I think that was sort of the special ingredient that we had, or that we still have, is that, the cast is young. The cast is, you know, the cast is like, we're a bunch of like young dreamers who, like, this is our dream come true, and we wanted to make something that meant a lot to us. We didn't want to, this wasn't just another job. This was like, this was our first big bang, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everybody in that rehearsal space, and it was, for a lot of the creatives, it was their first go around. A lot of the creatives, not their first project, but their first musical. Our composers had never written a musical before. Adam, our writer, had never written a book for a musical before. And Danya, our director, had never directed a musical before. And so for a lot of people, we were learning a lot. And while we were learning, we were collecting all the things that we loved. We were discovering all the things that we did love for the first time. And we were, I think that was an advantage that we had in the creative process, was, we were feeling a lot of these things for the first time. And
Yeah.
it made everything that we felt in the studio really potent. And
Yeah, not to interrupt you, but like I feel like with the cast being young and the creative team also having a fresh experience, it kind of is telling to the story of these young kids trying to make a name for themselves, of saying I'm worth something too, regardless of my class. So I think that, I don't know, chip on your shoulder almost from the collective of everyone on that stage, probably, like you're saying, transfers very well to what's actually going on.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
no one's, the thing is nobody's really lying up there, like,
Mhm.
no one, like, we're acting, but we're not lying, and, like, for a lot of people, it's we do have a bit of a chip on our shoulder, and we do kind of, like, we do have that sort of mentality in the outsiders, and, we were kind of, we knew that we didn't have, like, that we were all just a bunch of kids, like a bunch of new kids who no one had ever heard of, really.
Yeah.
And, like, we knew that, like, everyone was like, not that we were like, like dicks about it. We like,
No, no, yeah.
we were just like, we felt sort of like, no, this is like, we have something here, and we're
Mhm.
excited to share it. And I know that everyone thinks that they do, but we were like, no, we really, like,
We
this
we
is
more than
super for
anyone.
us. This is our first go around. And,
Yeah.
like, because it, for everybody, was their first go around, and they wanted it to be special. And it was very, it was just a magical experience putting it together, man. Because, like, one thing I do know is that I don't know if I'll be able to experience, like, a sincere love for the work that we were doing, like I felt there. Do you know what I mean? And,
Mm.
who knows? I don't mean that to sound negative for my future experiences, but it's an acknowledgement that I do recognize how special the room was when we were putting it together.
Yeah. You might fall in love again down the road, but this one was your first
This
love.
is my
We'll put it
first
that
love. Exactly. You know what I mean? That's
way.
exactly it.
We'll put it that way. Okay, awesome. All right, if anyone hasn't seen the show, besides it being the Tony winner, what's a reason why someone should come and see your show?
Because I think the story that Susie wrote is a story that applies to everybody. I think everybody sort of feels like an outsider, and I think, in the show we sort of explore universal universal themes of feeling, of being excluded, of being, misunderstood and not seen. And I think the show sort of invites people to allow themselves to be seen by, by those around them and the people they love. And I think that it's really life affirming and love affirming. And I think, if you come, bring your closest people, bring your best friends, and bring the family members you love the most, because
Mm,
it's a really special experience for people who, want to be seen by each other, want to allow themselves to be seen by the people they love.
awesome. All right, Brent, that's our episode for today. Really a pleasure to get to know you. I hope everyone listening enjoyed that, getting to know Brent outside of just being in the outsiders and being, a performer, but you as the person. So, yeah, let's hop on after this call, talk about training now, what it looks like, and obviously getting you
Dude, I would love. I know,
geared.
dude. Like, we didn't even get into the fitness journey. I wanted to
I
we still.
mean, I was trying to be. I'm trying to be respectful of your time. If you have
No,
5 more minutes, let's jump
no,
in.
no. Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
All right.
Do
Okay.
it.
Great.
Do it.
Okay. Cool. So tell us about like being able to balance now. You're in a show, or maybe even before during rehearsals. Like, how has fitness and performing married themselves together for you in your life?
It's really well. So during that COVID period when nothing was, I really like sort of clamped down on fitness because like I feel like everybody needed something to sort of clamp down onto or to cling onto during COVID as a means to to allocate their passion to or to pour
Yeah.
something into. Which for me it wasn't musical theater because musical theater didn't exist, and so I spent a lot of my time going to the gym, and so my brother is a bodybuilder as well, or which is an advantage. I mean, I'm not a bodybuilder, but he was, and during that time, we both sort of like he became my trainer for a little while, and he sort of continued the built for the stage. Sorry, he continued the sort of built for the stage journey that I had started a long time ago, a long time before,
Yeah.
and I really just sort of clamped down, and I moved back here. I was auditioning and I was exercising, and but now doing the show is like I'm learning now is when you're doing 8 shows a week and you're like committed to fitness. It's a tough balance to strike, especially in a show that's so physical.
Mm.
So right now I'm going like 5 days a week, or I try 5 or 6, which six may be too much. But I'm sorry, I'm ranting. I forgot the question, but
No,
like,
it's okay. We're talking about how you're meshing together, how you're bringing together performance and performance and training, which you're doing. You're explaining it right now. The thing you just said about maybe 6 is too much. I think it's a great conversation to let people know that like just because you go 5 times or 6 times or 2 times or three, whatever the number is, they don't always have to look the same intensity wise. Maybe out of those, if you do go 6 times, maybe 2 out of the 6 is just simply like taking a 10-minute jog just to get the body moving, getting a little bit of heart rate elevation going, and then stretching for 30 minutes. Like that's still a training session that's complementing everything else you're doing.
yeah,
So I just want to throw that in there.
that's a lot of what my warm ups for a matinee look like. Like for a
Yeah.
matinee, I need to warm my body up. I like because if I don't and I go into a matinee cold, uh, it would be. I have done it before, and it's like disastrous to both quality and like how you're feeling
Yeah.
mentally. So
You
like
actually don't start performing until the second act.
no, yeah, yeah, like the whole first act, which is like where a lot of my work. I mean, not a lot of it, but like a hefty portion of the role, a meaty part of the role happens. You're just completely missing it. And
Yeah.
I so what I do is I get up earlier and I go for a run before a matinee. I try not to do like an entire workout before a matinee because usually it's a 2 show day. So I try not to go to the gym on 2 show days because I'll just be dead tired by the second act of the second show.
Yeah.
And but yeah, no, I think warming up my body is just as important as warming up like my voice. Because if I try to warm up my voice when my body's not warm, it just doesn't happen. It doesn't work. And I end up just grinding gears that aren't ready to be worked.
Mm.
But yeah,
I always sing the best after working out because, like you just said, your voice it is a part of your body. So the warmer your whole body is, the more prepared and ready your voice is as well. So I
100%.
hear to that.
Dude,
Here.
100%. It's also interesting, the show that we do is really like it is really physical, and there've been injuries. I remember I was doing the out of town, and I was thrown on, like, there was a choreographed moment where I throw myself onto my shoulder, and I threw myself a little too hard onto my shoulder onto the ground.
Mm.
And I remember, like, my shoulder should have been dislocated. And, you know, thank God it wasn't. But I remember just, and like, it's a lot of pressure on your legs, and it's a lot of pressure on your joints and stuff, because there's just so much impact. And I remember just being like, okay, next time when we go to Broadway, I like need to make sure that, like, my body is braced for this, because, like, people get hurt in the show all the time, and it's not always like a huge, painful career ending injury, but, like, there's people who, like, I got to take tomorrow off because, like, I'm really, I really, I messed my shoulder up, or I messed my leg up during the Rumble yesterday. And, there's a lot of velocity in the show. And,
Mm.
like, if you're physically not prepared for it, like, it'll knock you off your feet if you're not ready,
Yeah, I think another thing, just to get on the soapbox to everyone listening, is the training aspect. Originally, fitness in its root was about injury prevention. It wasn't about, like, oh, how I look or whatever. It was
Mhm.
about being durable, and training for actors, as far as durability, is, in my opinion, the most important thing. Because, like you're mentioning, yeah, the show's the same every day because of the blocking and choreography, but it's not, because there's new people in there,
Yeah.
or things just go just a little different,
It
and
is
those
different
little
every day.
yeah, and those little differences put you in these, like, split second situations, like, physically, that if you aren't durable or aren't athletic in some way to, quote unquote, save yourself, you're gonna get injured. So I just wanted to, yeah, kind of
Yeah.
chime in on and agree with what you were saying there.
Dude, you 100% right. Like, like, you have to be physically adaptable,
Yes.
in the Outsiders, in this space. I remember prepping for the role and just being like, like, the character that I play, like, he doesn't rely a lot on his words. His presence does a lot of the talking. And I knew that something physical had to happen with that, because in the book it's very physically described in a specific way. And in, the script that Adam wrote, and also just in the material that he speaks, you can tell that he's speaking a lot with his body.
Mm.
And there was a lot of physical work that I was doing as a means to sort of, like, discover where he existed physically. And a lot of that had to do with training. A lot of that had to do with, like, okay, well, how, because my character is like a roofer. He works on
Mm.
a roof for 10 hours or 12 hours. And I'm like, okay, well, what does that fucking do to, what does that do to your body? And
Yeah.
how does that make your body exist in space in moments when you're not working? And I was focusing on that with, like, training. And there's just so much physicality in this show, and really that I recognize in a lot of other Broadway shows, that it really just can't be taken for granted. And I think that it's sort of an essential part of the business, because I think that, like, you know physically, how you move and how you work and how you train is such a big part of your work as an actor, that if you're not really greasing, what's the expression, if you're not really greasing that up, and you're not working those parts of your
Yeah.
instrument, then it can make you really stiff and unable to move. I think that, like,
Yeah.
challenging yourself in that way can really benefit your work. And I remember, like, after I had come back to theater after COVID, and I was, a few years into my fitness journey, I was like, movement feels easier. Like, I can say, like, when we were working choreography, I can say yes to certain things. because I know that, I've trained for this. I've trained to be ready for these certain things, and I'm not a good dancer by any means, but I'm ready for whatever choreography comes at me, at least in a way that I feel safe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, oh, that's a whole other like. I might have to just bring you back on for a second episode.
Dude, you want to do part two? You want to do part two?
Yeah, I think a part two is necessary. Are you game for a part two?
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
don't I? I'll see the show on October 6th,
Okay.
and then we'll do a part two so that I can chat with you about what I saw and everything like that, and your specific track and what I saw you having to do, and
Yeah.
then I'll have a little bit more insight to ask you more questions about specifically your track in the show.
Yeah, dude. I would love to do that. And
Oh, okay, good. Bet. All right, everyone. You heard it here. Brent committed to
committed to part two. Let's do it.
part two of the episode.
Right in the
Okay, it's
sunroom.
right in the sunroom in Astoria. All right, well, tell the story. I said hey, and I'll see you on the 6th. I can't wait. Thanks so much again for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Joe.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Peace
See you
out,
later.
brother. Have a
All right, everyone. Brent Comer from The Outsiders. That was fun. Super fun. Make sure you give Brent a follow on the gram at underscore Brent's name, Brent Comer. Oh, I might have actually missed an underscore after. I think it's book ending. He's backstage saying, yeah, there's two. Okay. I messed that up if you're watching. But if you're just listening and you look in the description, I'm going to type up the description later for like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, et cetera. It's underscore Brent Comer underscore. So you're bookending underscores there. All right, go see The Outsiders. I'm Joe Roscoe with Built for the Stage. Check us out, builtforthestage.com. You can try out the program for free. Why don't you mention Brent's name as well if you do try the trial? Brent was talking about some financial struggles earlier on in I was going to say like the 2020s or something. I don't even know how you say it, but like COVID time. If that's you as a performer, I get it. So let's have a conversation and make it work because you should be training like the athlete that you are. Actors are athletes. Train like one. Later.